let me know and we'll make it happen. Speaking of fundraising, we've got some amazing opportunities this week. Our juniors are doing an upper crust fundraiser, which is that they are selling pies in celebration of Pi Day. A huge shout out to Mr. Blair and the math department for organizing Pi Day festivities on March 14th. We can't wait to share some more details soon. If you're looking for some great food and supporting our school at the same time, check out our Dine and Donates this week. So we have one tonight at Chipotle, if anyone's hungry after the meeting. Roundtable this Thursday, and Nick the Greek on Friday. Yesterday we had a really fun event. We had a student versus staff dodgeball game at lunch. The students won 2-0, no surprise there. And the SWAP Student Wellness Ambassador Program continues to work tirelessly on mental health initiatives. Recently, Novato High School and San Marin SWAP students attended the Teen Tackle Tobacco Conference at UC Berkeley. Speaking of wellness, we're also excited to welcome the North Marin Community Services Teen Clinic for our Wellness Wednesdays, and we'll also be launching our Peer Buddy program through our Peer Resource class and program. This program will give students the opportunity to meet with peers to discuss school, friendships, and any personal challenges. It's a fantastic way to build a supportive and connected community at Novato High. Looking ahead, the Safe and Sober Grad Night's Lucky Run is happening this Sunday, a great chance to get active and run or walk a 5K. And don't forget, March Madness Spirit Week is just around the corner with Spring Fling on March 21st from 7 to 9 p.m. But before that, I'd like to invite you all to the NHS Hornet Bowl, our junior versus senior football game, where the girls play football and the boys cheerlead. It's going to be a blast, and I'd love for you all to join us on March 14th at 7 p.m. There's a very high chance of the seniors winning, so come check it out. As for our MSA, we're in School of the Arts. I'm thrilled to announce that Cinematic Arts program won 3rd place for a national award, and one of our seniors, Noam, won 1st place in the STN Best Drama for Wooden Heart. Huge congratulations to him. And also mark your calendars for MSA Showcase on March 22nd, showcasing all of our artists from all of the various disciplines, which will be in the Center for the Arts at Novato High School. Our rock band is performing at Hot Monk today. I'm sure it's going great. Plus, we have a very special performance coming up. The group Songs of Truth, musicians who were from concentration camps, will be performing at Novato High School during our 4th period next Monday. They will be playing alongside our very own jazz band, and it's definitely an event you don't want to miss. Additionally, our product designs fashion show is happening this Saturday, where you'll get to see all the incredible work our student artists have put together. It's going to be a great event showcasing their talents at 7 p.m. Now on to athletics. Our game of the week is track and field, who will be facing Tam and Tara Linda on March 16th, Thursday at 2:30 on the track. And a special shout out to our athlete of the week, Sergio. He made an impressive debut as the goalie of our lacrosse team, leading us to an 18-5 victory with a stellar defensive performance, including a shout out in the first half. I also want to do a shout out for our spring sports truck coming up in 2 weeks. It's basically a bunch of home games are happening at the same time on Tuesday, March 18th, I believe. And yeah, we're going to have sports truck, music, and it's going to be a great time. Outside of school, I wanted to say that I attended the Marin Teen Girls Conference, and it's my 3rd year going. I always look forward to learning something new each time, meeting new people, and of course, seeing all my favorite people. That's all for today, and as we continue through this busy season, March may be the longest month, but for our seniors, the excitement is building as college decisions start rolling in. So good luck to everyone, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, our incredibly busy students. Your commitment to well-being and our community and to fun is exemplary, so thank you for that. I wanted to appreciate the staff, and in particular Julie and Josh, for spending some extra time with me over the past couple of weeks to help me continue, I think, a very robust onboarding process as a relatively new trustee. And then also today, I was very, very delighted to participate in the Equity, help me out, what's it called? Equity
Imperative.
The Equity Imperative. And just a wonderful coming together of community, of teachers, principals, district administrators, and I think a really incredible way to show our community voice and spirit and commitment to students. So appreciating that. Really enjoyed the JV lacrosse game at San Marin the other day, which was phenomenal. And I think that's it, but just great appreciation for the participation here tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Danya, is flocking anywhere in Marin? Good note. I had the pleasure of participating in a number of conversations with staff around adoption of our ELA curriculum, and was able to hear a couple different curriculum presentations, and have had a lot of conversations making sure that we're really thinking about what our students need in terms of literacy development. And just wanted to give an extra shout out. There are a number of 20-ish, I'm going to say, teachers, representatives from all of our elementary schools who are piloting these curriculum, who will pilot 2 or 3 curriculum, and that is a huge lift for teachers. And so I just wanted to shout out those teachers who are really putting in a lot of effort and a lot of time, extra time on top of everything else, to make sure that we're doing the right thing for our students. So thank you to all of them. And I am looking forward to seeing The Little Mermaid this weekend. Supposed to go last weekend, couldn't make it, so I'm going this weekend. Looking forward to it.
No announcements. We have a full agenda, so I will pass.
I thought for sure by the time it got to me, everybody would mention that we actually were in Sacramento last week. It was great having Danya there representing students. We always do really well. It's an opportunity for us to get in front of our different legislative leaders and groups that are consulting to the Assembly. One in particular was the California State Assembly budget consultant, which was really helpful and interesting. So I just jumped right into that, but I was going to say I actually had something fun that happened yesterday. I always love Read Across America, and had a chance to read over at Olive Elementary to 3rd grade kids, which is so fun. I actually went back out and bought a whole bunch of books that my kids loved, so every time I get asked to do this, I pull out my stash, and Interrupting Chicken seems to win every single time. So anyway, thanks for everyone that's here tonight too.
I'm gonna skip.
I'll just share that we went to Sacramento, as was stated. I think it's really important that we're able to speak to and have a voice with our legislators, because they make decisions that sometimes we don't have any control over. And this board Novato's board in general over the past decades has made it a very high priority. So it's good that we can speak in that way at a larger scale. I also got to read to Mrs. Merritt's class, which was lovely at Olive, and had some community meetings. Thank you.
The book I read at Olive literally fell apart as I was reading it, because I think it was mine when I was that same age. Shel Silverstein. Anyway, so just a couple of things. So many highlights from this weekend, but one of the big ones was the By the Bay Health Gala. They were raising money for a new CTE pathway at San Marin High School, the health class. And we had 2 San Marin students speak in front of many, many people with lots of money. They did a great job, and we raised lots of money to continue that program. We're very excited. And then I wanted to thank Melanie for attending today at the Equity Imperative Committee. Your voice was really important. I'm excited about seeing Little Mermaid as well this weekend. Which day are you going? Oh, okay. I have to wait till Sunday, I think. And then we have a really important week also coming up, even though every week is important. There's so much going on. But we have Neurodiversity Week, in which we celebrate students with neurodivergent thinking, and that will be an awareness week from March 17th to the 21st. And so it starts before our next board meeting. And just a shout out to Kristen Zikowski for all that she does as a volunteer parent to put all the curriculum together for us.
Okay, wonderful. Our presentation this evening is from Sinaloa. It's so nice to see many familiar faces from there. So if you are here to present that, please come up.
Just click down.
All right. Good evening, Board Trustees, Dr. Smith. Thank you, Amira, for presenting the Pledge of Allegiance. Amira is our amazing School Site Council student representative. I think it's the first year that Sinaloa has had a student rep on our SSC, so it's been really wonderful to have her voice in our decision making. My name's Ellie Marsh, and I have the great honor of being in my first year as principal at Sinaloa Middle School this year. We're going to be sharing a little bit this evening about our integrated academic and social emotional support, our data cycles and intervention, as well as some big upcoming shifts in our grading practices and how we will continue to support our data and differentiation in a really big way with those shifts. So I'm going to hand it over to one of our amazing counselors.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Natalie Lopez, and I represent. Good evening. My name is Natalie Lopez, and I represent one of the 3 counselors at Sinaloa Middle School. As you know, student academic achievement is largely correlated to their social and emotional well-being. The counselors at Sinaloa participate in integrated teams that focus on both academic support and social emotional support. This year at Sinaloa, Sinaloa has begun a culture leadership team, also known as CLT, in addition to our instructional leadership team, to prioritize work around school culture. This has been a wonderful way to focus on joy and new ways to build enthusiasm and motivation among students who may have been previously withdrawn or uninvolved in school programs, sports, and events. For example, we made a decision to stop making cuts from our sports teams based on grades. Instead, we are leveraging agreements by our players to attend study hall if they have a D or an F. With that being said, our intent is to maintain the drive and motivation to play and invest in school while providing the necessary support to improve academically. In addition to that, we have refined our behavior response protocols to focus more on restoring and resetting and less on punitive measures. This has resulted in much lower recidivism of hurtful behaviors and an increased sense of physical and emotional safety among students. At Sinaloa, we also have our Coordinations of Services team, also known as COST. We meet weekly to identify student supports. As counselors, we collaborate with COST and admin to ensure that we can link mental health and academic support for our students. On our team, we have an incredible full-time yard supervisor participating with us. This supervisor, who is named Orlando, shout out to Orlando, has strong relationships with students and great insight into their needs. On our team, we also have our wonderful community liaison, Damaris, who we love. She helps prioritize bringing in the voice of our newcomer and EL families and students. As we near the 1-year opening anniversary of our Wellness Hub, just a quick update, it has been thriving. We have received more than 650 visits from students. Some of that may or may not include staff wellness check-ins as well. We have worked really hard this year to make sure that all of our students are accessing the hub regularly for mental health support. To close out, as you know, student wellness and academic support are ongoing priorities, and I look forward to building on what we have started this year to ensure that all of our students continue to feel supported. Thank you so much for your time.
Good evening, my name is Vanessa Coleman. I am one of the assistant principals and a TOSA at Sinaloa, and I'm here to elaborate a little bit on some of those increased interventions we have on campus this year. I will be followed by a classroom teacher and a lovely 6th grade student that will also be sharing their experiences. Our academic support team was created this year with our counselors as well as myself to support the students on the DNF list. We collaborate weekly and meet with students once a week who are struggling to keep their grades above Ds. We also at Sinaloa have a 6th grade math intervention that is part of our elective wheel. So students can rotate through math intervention. In 7th grade, we offer a year-long math intervention class. And in 8th grade, we have math push-in support happening during our study skills class for 8th graders who may be struggling in all academic areas. One of our big pushes this year was to increase intervention data cycles happening within the classroom structure. It is tricky in the secondary schedule to get small groups and intervention happening within the system. And so this was a big push for us. We started with the wonderful Miss Hart, who then expanded to 6th grade, and now all of math will be experiencing a wonderful intervention data cycle this spring. Ms. Hart will be sharing some with you how the cycles work and a more in-depth look of that process.
One of the biggest ongoing challenges we face as teachers is how to reach students who struggle to meet proficiency standards for a myriad of reasons. Besides struggling with content, these students are often reluctant learners who disengage from the learning process due to lack of academic confidence. They need more time and personalized support to address both their affective and academic needs. The question is, how do you as a teacher carve out that space to meet the needs of these students in a room full of over 30 middle schoolers, all with a wide range of knowledge levels, who on occasion present less than idyllic behavior and focus? So the first major hurdle towards creating in-class intervention plans was to figure out how would this look and function. What is the structure and the time commitment that makes remediation possible for those who need it without impeding the ongoing progress we have to make with learning new content? In past years, we have dedicated our shorter Wednesdays to individualized time using Khan Academy as a way to differentiate instruction for independent learners while opening up opportunities for small group instruction to fill gaps in knowledge for struggling students. Class management was not always easy, especially in our larger classes, as we tried various seating arrangements and incentive programs. We needed stronger data to identify what interventions were working, more structure to help with class management, and we needed to involve students more in the process of setting learning targets and reaching goals. Inspired by the universal access time seen at our elementary sites, Vanessa has worked with the math department over the last year to begin building our own cycle of intervention. To create that stronger data, we chose only one essential standard. We started with fraction division. For a 6 to 8 week cycle, we pre-assessed to identify our students who are not yet meeting proficiency in the standard. Then using data tracker forms, we detailed our goals, outlined our plans, set criteria for post-assessment, and analyzed results. To address the difficulty with class management and need for more structure, especially in larger classes, Vanessa was able to pull out a group of students that went with her, and I kept another small group in my class, enabling us to bring down the class size and have fewer students in the classroom for more individualized teacher instruction with more students. Within that first data cycle, more than half of the students who were below proficient on the standard for fraction division made progress. As a workable class management structure and data tracking system is now coming together, we are beginning to shift focus towards refining the specific intervention lessons and plans and the pre and post assessments to increase validity and reliability of the assessment data, as well as improve teaching effectiveness. And thanks to proficiency-based education and grading, we are finding more authentic ways to involve and motivate students in the process. With our most recent cycle, our 6th grade focuses on decimal operations, and students are setting goals and engaging because the standard they are working on directly correlates to a grading category in Aries. At the end of the data cycle, the post-assessment will be used as a retakes, which can potentially raise their overall grade in the class immediately, thus allowing them to see a positive direct correlation between the work they do in our small groups and the proficiency scores they receive. The online math program IXL is new to us this month, but it looks to be a very promising resource that is potentially much better than Khan Academy at targeting students' individual levels, both for the independent workers and for small groups. We will also soon be leveraging our school counselors to create their own math-focused small groups, which will help us meet the needs of more students and bring down class size further. For next year, my goal would be to see the data cycles predetermined and planned well in advance to align better with our curriculum so it flows more naturally with what we are working on at any given point in the year. And I would also like to ensure our pre and post assessments in the data cycle align with our unit tests for given standards so that our weekly intervention time can also serve as retake opportunities so students stay motivated and true mastery over time can be demonstrated.
Alfie's here. He's going to share with you firsthand how the data cycle worked for him.
I might be too short.
No, you never. You're perfect.
Okay.
It'll get you.
Hi, my name is Alfie Thompson, and I'm a 6th grader at Sinaloa Middle School. In my elementary school, I was in numerous small groups throughout my experience. In 4th grade, I was in a 4-person group with Miss Crevere. It really impacted my learning because it was not just everyone out in the water, it was personally directed towards me. it felt like someone wanted me to succeed and they weren't just there because they were getting paid to do it. This year, I was in a math intervention group with Miss McNeil. It was a bigger group, but I had a lot of friends in the class, and we played a lot of games. It felt like it was directed towards me and not the whole group. It was what I needed to learn. I also had math intervention with Mr. Marcus this year, taught by Miss Coleman. I felt like the instruction was straight to the point and what I needed. It was helpful to focus on one thing each day.
Hi, I'm Lindley Perez-Ross. I'm a special ed teacher at Sinaloa and also on the ILT. And I want to talk a little bit about the proficiency-based education and the standards gradings that we're moving to in the fall. So after 6 long years of Sinaloa staff and staff around the district working really hard on making scales and proficiency-based standards, we're finally ready to move forward in the fall with our proficiency-based education, and we're really excited about it. So we're actually, one of the biggest things that's going to change is we're moving away from number grades and letter grades, and instead moving into narrative grades. So instead of seeing your student come home with a 1, 2, 3, or 4, or an A, B, C, D, or F, they're going to have a narrative grade that will say something like approaching standard, meeting standard, or exceeding standard, or something along those lines. What we think is great about this is it takes away the average or averaging that students like to do of, oh, I'm a B student, I'm a C student, I'm an A student, or I'm a A in math, I'm a C in English, things like that. And what this does is really going to instead hone on the standards, specific skills and standards that students are working on throughout the year, and know where they're at each standard. Are they meeting that standard, or are they approaching that standard? Are they exceeding that standard, and so on. In addition, we're also going to do the same narrative grading for habits of learning. So I hope most of you all are aware, I know you all are, about our 6 C's in Novato. Cultural competence, collaboration, critical thinking, things like that. We're also going to be assigning narrative grades to students for those habits of learning as well. And what's exciting about this, and I hope, especially as a special ed teacher, what is exciting about this, is it's really going to hone in on what students are struggling on academically and what maybe they're struggling on in terms of habits of learning. Maybe you're not doing your homework every night, right? So that might inform your, not only your habits of learning grade, but also inform your grade in English, for example. So in terms of intervention, it's going to allow us all at Sinaloa and at the other middle schools as well to really target our interventions for students, because we'll know exactly what standard it is that they're lacking on and what standards they may need more support on. In addition, because I look at everything with a special education lens, it's going to allow us to look at the interventions that should already be happening with students based on where they're struggling, and allow us to make sure that we're not over-identifying students for special ed services that may just need more targeted intervention in specific areas. I think that's it. But we're going to pinpoint these intervention needs. It'll help us track data better for students, and it's been a long, long road. And I know at least on our staff at Sinaloa, we're excited to get started and just hit the ground running.
All right. Do you have any questions for our team?
I just want to share, I really love the idea of the proficiency, new grading system. I just wanted to ask the transition from this grading system to a high school GPA and letter grading system and how that'll affect our students.
Yeah, so what families and teachers and students will be prioritizing looking at will be that narrative grade in the essential standard, but because we're going to continue using ARIES, and we're going to use a new platform within ARIES called the Standards-Based Grading Platform. That platform will still be able to transfer the narrative grade to a number and give an average in an area. So for San Marin, if they need to identify for AVID or for STEM or for advanced math placement, they'll still be able to see an average number for that class. But that's not what we want to prioritize families and students looking at, and teachers when they're making decisions about how to intervene and differentiate their instruction. So our hope is to give clearer feedback directly to students and families, but not put students at any kind of detriment as they're entering high school and headed toward college. But we have heard from Bob Marzano himself in Denver last week that he's spoken to college admissions across the country, Ivy League schools. MIT doesn't even use grades anymore, that they are so accustomed now to looking at all kinds of grading. They get students who are homeschooled, they get students who are coming from private, public, proficiency grades, letter grades, number grades. They know how to identify who they're admitting to their schools, and it's not a problem for them. So I think that will help put parents' minds at ease, and we're hoping to get maybe some little video clips from some of those colleges and universities just to show that it's really not going to be a problem, because I know parents are understandably nervous.
Thank you.
Just a thank you to your staff for coming and talking about your data cycles. I think it's really helpful for us to get a concrete look at how this works in a classroom and how you start in one room and how you kind of scale it out. We are really interested in how we move that dial and get kids what they need. So that was just really helpful. So thank you so much.
And I'll just say it's always such a pleasure to see all of you. And now I know we can talk about this because I love it as much as I can hear that you do. So very exciting. And thank you so much for everything you're doing for our students.
Amazing team.
Okay, we are now going to hear from Leadership Novato.
Okay. Hello, President Jacobson, Vice President Lametta, Trustee Alexander, Trustee Butler, Trustee Gasson, Trustee Pickus, and the student trustees, as well as Superintendent Smith. This is the Golden Bell that you awarded Leadership Novato last year for Outstanding Community Partner. We are so excited and honored to receive this award and grateful for our partnership with NUSD. So thank you very much. Yeah, I'll clap for them. If anybody wants to ring the bell later, I'll have it by me. But I'm Kim Staley, and I run the Leadership Novato program. Leadership Novato has been around for 35 years, starting in 1990, and the program is run by the Novato Chamber of Commerce in partnership with the Novato Fire Protection District, the Novato Sanitary District, the North Marin Water District, the City of Novato, and of course, the Novato Unified School District. And we're so proud to have two Leadership Novato graduates, President Jacobson, class of 2022, and Trustee Alexander, class of 2023, to be represented on the school board. Every year, nonprofits in Novato apply for service projects. We split our class into 3 teams, and they each select a service project, which is completed in 6 months. And tonight, I'm proud to introduce Emma Messenberg, who was the team leader for the service project we completed in April, which Sinaloa actually talked about. We did the Sinaloa Middle School Wellness Hub. Emma was elected our class valedictorian for her outstanding efforts. And you guys get ready for this presentation because this team did such an amazing job.
Oh, great. Okay. Hi, everybody. Hello. I'm Emma Messenberg. I'm, first of all, an NUSD parent 3 times over, and a graduate of last year's Leadership Novato class. As Kim mentioned, I was the valedictorian. And what really propelled the experience for me was the team project that we were assigned to do. So the leadership class is split into 3 groups, and we get to choose which project we do. And our team, I'll introduce you to our team. So there were about 6 or 7 people on each team, and these are our teammates. So Mark and Chris are from fire and police, and Sue and Sally are huge community volunteers and members.
And Matt at the end is a finance guy and also a retired professional painter, which came into play in our project. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. So these are our sponsors for the project. And we, as Kim mentioned, it took 6 months, and we set out really hard and fast in the beginning to get funding for this project. These extraordinary community support members helped us to reach our project goals, our budget goals. We started the project with $8,000, and this is special to note because this was earmarked and set aside by Sinaloa Middle School. So we started with $8,000 in our pocket already. And this $8,000 was raised through the parents, toward Novato, and it was earmarked and requested by parents, actually persistent parents, who saw the need in their kids after COVID. And that's when this goes back to. So this originally started way back as a result of COVID. So we started with $8,000 in our pocket. And additionally, we partnered these other amazing, generous donors to grow our fundraising to over $22,000 for this project. It allowed for some lofty project goals, and one of our driving goals for that fundraising was flooring. So we really wanted to make an impact in the classroom. We really wanted to transition it from a classroom to somewhere that felt warmer, more comfortable, more welcoming, and we felt like changing the floor would be a huge impact. If you've been at any of the hubs in high school, you notice that they have beautiful warm wood floors. That was a higher price point than we had, so we were looking at different options, and we'll see that in just a minute. So this is where we started. This is Classroom 101, which is now the hub, and it was occupied previously by a special ed teacher, Miss Moon, who it was the first stage of our project to move Miss Moon into the classroom that she occupied for last year, and that emptied out this front and center classroom for our project. So we wanted to develop our goals and objectives, and very important to do it within time and within budget. So we needed to prioritize what the room needed, and we recognized that it was very different than what high school hub has. The contents of the room, the setting of the room, the vibe of the room, all of it was different, and we needed it to be different for the middle school kids. Also, how to organize the room. We wanted it to be functional but not crowded. We wanted it to be purposeful but not boring. And we wanted to set it up so the students could get back to learning. That was the goal of the room, is to get the students back to learning. Again, the impact of the new flooring would transform that classroom, and we landed on an option which is similar to what you're seeing on the floor here, and it's about our estimate for the expense was about $7,000. So this was going to be on the top of our budget, and that's what pushed our fundraising up so that we could afford the new carpet. So the design and concept, we relied heavily on Josh Evans, who is one of the counselors at Sinaloa last year, and he did a lot of research on the other middle school wellness hubs in other school districts and looked at what they had in their hubs, what worked. We were very grateful to have conversations with them, and through their trial and error, we were able to land on what we wanted to put in the room. We put the plans into a budget, and we used it as a purchasing tool. We wanted the design to be welcome, warm, purposeful, and most of all, we wanted to hear from the Sinaloa students. And this is actually where the magic started to happen. So once we identified the items that we needed in the room, we went to the kids and we asked them to tell us what they wanted in the room. And we were able to purchase most of these lists. We had these lists up on the walls in the room, and the kids came into the room and added items to here. And we also presented them with 3 different design concepts, and this is the one that they chose here at Sandy Beaches. It was secretly our favorite too, I think. So when I talk about magic, this is where it really got fun for us. So we had a paint day, and we welcomed in multiple groups of kids that came in and helped us to paint the walls. We had a different color on each wall, and it created a lot of excitement among even the kids that weren't in the classroom with us. The door was open, and I think it probably was a favorite day for all of us. So again, here's the flooring. So this is the flooring that we put in. Here's a before and after. So it's a nice warm color, sort of like that sand color. And this was probably, I think for our team, this is our greatest accomplishment, was being able to afford this into the room. So here's how our budget ended up coming out, the final numbers. So after we made the flooring investment of $7,000, the room contents, those lists of items, and they're to explain what they are, there's a music section, there is an art section, there are books, there are seating areas that are private. So there's lots of tactile things, and they're there to distract and calm so that, again, the kids can get back to learning. And we had a little bit of money left over in our budget, and so we beautified the outside area of the Wellness Hub. We added to what was already there. There were picnic benches, and we just felt like it was added space, and it really sort of set the tone for people to want to walk in the door. And so if you're interested in the final results, here is the Wellness Hub. So a great transformation from that classroom, and what we heard tonight is that the kids love it. So this is, we continue to be proud to have been involved in creating this space. It was really an impactful experience for all of us. We feel like the Wellness Hub is a gift for the kids, but it truly was a gift for us to be able to work with them and create this with them. So thank you so much for the opportunity and the partnership. Thank you.
One final comment. I know all of you are like, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing thing. I'd love to be a part of it. Well, and I like the baseball theme we have going on here. I got number 24 on the freshman team, also at San Marin. But we are right now working with Novato Little League North to help create the Field of Dreams. So we could use your help. We could use your donations to make this an amazing field for them. That's one of our leadership service projects now. So please, if you'd like to donate, contact us at the Novato Chamber. Some amazing things have already happened. The North Marin Water District has donated $22,000 in gravel. Yeah, so when you're on the field, look at the gravel. But we would love for you guys to be a part, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kim. It's been a wonderful partnership with Leadership Novato. Thank you so much. Okay, we're on to item 12A. No. Well, our next item is non-agenda public comment, but we don't have any, so I just want to call that out. Item 12A, this is the approval of the playground improvement project at Hamilton TK8 School and all elementary schools.
Good evening, trustees, Dr. Smith, and everyone in attendance. My name is Jean-Claude Van Rooyen. I'm the Director of Maintenance, Operations, and Transportation, and I'm here to seek approval. We're here to seek approval on the Playgrounds Improvement Project, a long process that started around about February 2023, and I have a special guest, Shayna Friesen, from the Miracle Playgroup, that's going to help me present the playground project this evening. You do, before I get into the presentation, you do have an additional addendum that's sort of laid to the party, which we will address towards the end. So in terms of the remaining bond funds, we have the project scope for the playgrounds. We're looking at 8 elementary schools with a total of 28 playgrounds. We do have more playgrounds at our elementary schools, but they're obviously not run by us. So it's a pretty large scope. One of the things that we found out is that a lot of our surfaces, our playground surfaces, are in some cases beyond repair and need to be replaced 100%. And then there's also some surfaces that have some minor repairs that our maintenance and operations team can take care of. We've also looked at age appropriateness, and so what this means is we've looked at our TK and K yard area and also identified some areas where we need to make them age appropriate. So in a lot of those areas, you're having playgrounds that are aged 5 to 12, that are appropriate for age 5 to 12, and we're going to retrofit those. So that's part of the scope as well. We also have an opportunity for 2 entirely new playgrounds, and we'll get into the details there. And then really interesting and quite special is that we've also ensured that we looked at inclusiveness as well as accessibility as part of this scope. It was sort of not a late to the party, but it was very, very new news to me to really understand what accessibility and inclusivity meant when it comes to playgrounds. I've spent a lot of time with Shana and 2 community members that shared a lot of information with me at our operations shop to ensure that we were addressing the needs of all our students. So really excited to kick off what is to be sort of a phase 1 to the approach, and then looking at rolling out the second phase as we become more accustomed to what the needs are at all our playgrounds. Shane and I just finished today with a site visit to all our playgrounds to sort of understand and estimate the needs with regards to accessibility and inclusivity. And then, of course, I just wanted to point out as well, not all our playgrounds need to be replaced. Some just need either a nut or a bolt, or needed to be slightly tightened. So there's a lot of parts as part of our proposal. So it's not all doom and gloom. There's a lot of work that we can do as ourselves, as the maintenance team, but then of course partner with Miracle Playgroup to ensure that we have the right parts put in place. So that's the project scope. This was sort of our benchmark. I believe it was in February 2023, we had a fairly extensive inspection carried out by CSI. I remember on my first day, I spent time with a binder about that thick that had every single playground neatly categorized according to this rubric or this sort of rating system, filled with illustrations and pictures of the current state back in February of 2023 of what our playgrounds really looked like. And of course, a lot of time has passed since February 2023, and together with Trevor and myself, as well as our grounds team, we spent a lot of time with visiting the sites to understand what needs to be addressed. So this was a great sort of yardstick to understand exactly what needed to be addressed, and this is all with regards to safety. So priority safety concern number 1, 2, and then going all the way down to something like number 4, which is a sticker or a sign. But we're really concerned about those 1s and 2s. And then, of course, this binder, in terms of summary, I've just put a little bit of an eye chart together here. The blue line is the rating, the average rating. The lower, the higher the score, the better. And then the red line is the amount of 1s. So the amount of 1s being that priority number 1 is safety concern by school. So you can have a look there. Hamilton has 17 1s across its 4 playgrounds. And then if you look at Pleasant Valley and Rancho, we have some really, we have some high number 1s there as well. So just sort of gives you a quick view of the state of our playgrounds. In terms of sort of a visual representation of what those 1s through 4 look like, on the far left of your screen, we're looking at some of the surfaces. So a number 2, the top left, is something that we can repair. We have the materials and the wherewithal and knowledge on how to repair that. Whereas something like number 1, which is, which you'll see across many of our playgrounds around the district, we've decided to actually just replace the entire pour-in place. In the center, we have some stairs that have just been worn by the elements. So that is definitely a safety concern as well. Hair can get tangled in there. Little fingers can get caught in there. Below that is something that we can address. It's something like a bolt that needs to be put in. And then this is how meticulous that survey was. In the top right, you can have a look at the measurements. Someone's actually placing a washer in there, and there's certain requirements about what the spacing needs to be on all our playgrounds to ensure that safety is a priority. And then one that we see on the bottom right a lot, which we've seen a lot today as well, are those sort of rope climbers, which we are just going to replace because they are just worn by the elements, and we're going to change those to ropes. So that this is just a sort of a visual representation of everything that you see in that report that we wish to go after. One of our new structures, we have a sort of a visual graphic representation of one of our new structures at Loma Verde. So we have one playground right now that's in the TK yard that has a wood chip or bark surface, which we're planning to provide a new surface, a new pouring place with. And then that playground structure itself is actually not a Miracle Playground structure, so we thought we'd present a completely, entirely age-appropriate play structure with a new surface. So that's part of the presentation. That's part of the one of the new playgrounds that we're going to implement at Loma Verde. And then I'm going to have Shana come and speak to inclusivity and accessibility, and sort of underscore the importance of this and how it affects our playgrounds at Novato Unified.
Thank you, JC, and thank you for having me, trustees and Superintendent Smith. So I am with Miracle Play Systems, and we are inclusive experts. We design and build playgrounds. We do the whole shebang. So it's been fun working with JC and trying to get all your playgrounds up to date safety-wise. That's the #1 issue that we're dealing with in this first round. In the second round, we want to work on adding inclusive elements. So just a little bit of information about inclusive play. So, you know, to revamp every single playground, update every single playground would be quite costly. So we thought we'll just amp up the play value of the existing playgrounds since they're in such good shape, and there's going to be all new parts, and we're going to be safety-wise okay. We want to kind of minimize cost and just, you know, give you guys the most bang for your buck there by adding inclusive elements standalone around certain boxes. So today, JC and I went out to the sites and we chose probably, there's at least one upper age 5 to 12 structure at every school that we want to add an inclusive design to. So we're going to add some standalone inclusive elements just to elevate the play. So kind of just a little background and information about inclusive and accessible. A lot of people kind of get confused. They think, oh, inclusive play is just ADA, ramping, you know, ADA access, stuff like that. So the difference between accessible and inclusive is ADA compliance is state standard. Accessible routes, we have all those on all the playgrounds, so we're good. Safety surfacing, you guys do an amazing job. You have all pour in place, except for this one that we're gonna update. So we're gonna be good there. So we want to go beyond accessibility and include and go to inclusive play. So just creating ADA playgrounds is not really truly inclusive. We could have challenges that limit a child. They might feel isolated. They can't get to every piece there, so they can't fully participate in play. Inclusive design allows children of all abilities, developmental stages, to play in the same space, creating a nurturing environment for all. We want to consider the needs of all the kids, not just with mobility devices, but we want to create a great social interaction for every child of every need and every ability to play together. So we want no child to have to play alone. There are 5 fundamentals of inclusive playground design, and that's what we have here on the slideshow. So those include providing multisensory play experiences, encouraging, and that includes like tactile, visual, you know, everything that you would think of sensory-wise. Encouraging children to play is number 2, and that is providing just different ranges of challenges, grouping similar equipment together, offering different multiple age groups to play together. Allowing greater accessibility is number 3, and we have that with the ADA access and your, you know, pour and play surfacing, where a child in all different abilities and devices can get onto the playground. So we're good there. Ensuring kids, number 4, to not get overwhelmed. So we want to offer children that have, you know, maybe an autistic child that needs like a cozy spot to kind of retreat to if they're overwhelmed by play. So that's number 4. Number 5 is creating a welcome social environment, and that's what I was talking about, just cooperative play, individual play. There's different types of play that children want and need. All children are different. They're, they need different things. Somebody wants solitary play, so we just need to make sure we have a piece of equipment for them there. Parallel play, playing together, but not together, and cooperative play. Onlooker play even. My child alone, she was an onlooker. She just wanted to take it in. She wanted to stay on the edge there and kind of see what she wanted to do before she got in there. So you have to think about children of all different stages and abilities there, and just really, we want to create a welcoming space for them all. Just hit the button there. So this is something that I presented to JC a couple weeks ago, and we visited, like I said, all the sites today, and we pinpointed certain play boxes that we're going to have space to include these inclusive items. So I think we came up with at least one upper age structure for every school. We have several kindergartens that we're going to elevate some play and imaginative play options too. But there's some space. So that's my job right now, is to go back with my designer and kind of see what's going to fit in the boxes. We want to just have room to expand that inclusive play with what you guys already have. So real quick, like on the plan over here, we have the main thing in the center is like what the playground is right now. So you could kind of see the box is really big. We had a lot of room to add here. The saddle seat in the corner there, gives you the vestibular vestibular sensory element there. So that's movement and balance. The rocker on the side there is an inclusive rocker. You could put up to 8 kids on there. Children with mobility devices could get on there, so it's really nice and an inclusive piece. That also hits the proprioceptive and vestibular senses, which is body position and movement and balance. And then we have the bottom, it's called the Imagination Center. We kind of named it. It's a tactile visual, it's a calming space. A child could kind of hang out in there. So that kind of hits those pinpoints right there. And then the Miracle Museum piece in the corner there called the Dynamics Lab. So this is actually a great piece that Miracle provides in our product line called Miracle Museum. It's elevated like STEM play. So we hit, it's a high sensory play piece that has like lots of pieces to it. So it's a great all-in-one, and it just gives us a lot of bang for our buck there to kind of, hit all the fields with an inclusive play. We have auditory, proprioceptive, tactile, and visual there. So you could kind of see just adding those 4 pieces just gives us a really elevated level of inclusive play. And I think the next slides are just kind of showing some more visuals. So you can see the Miracle Museum piece here. It's got a lot of tactile things. It's visual, the little spinner there, and a child in a mobility device could roll up to it and play. They could play with friends, they could play by themselves, so it's really awesome.
So just to put this in context, this idea is for Lou Sutton. This isn't really Lou Sutton, because we don't have that many trees.
Yeah.
But this is the existing box or play structure, and then these little elements on the periphery are the inclusive accessibility items.
Yeah.
So as Shana says, it's important to understand to have a place that has enough space to be able to accommodate these extra pieces. So it's like an add-on.
Yeah, and this box at Lou Sutton just had a lot of space, so we're able to get a lot of elements in here. So we have the buddy rocker there. You could see a little more. These are just kind of different angles of a rendering. And then this is an Elements of Play board that we presented to JC as well and his team. And this, it just kind of really points out the elements of play of even the existing structure, what you hit there. It's a very visual piece of, board here, and JC said he really loves it. It just really hits home, and you could see opportunity for calm. These are all the elements of play here, and then we have the little bubbles to kind of point out how inclusive this play space is. So you can see just adding those added so many more bubbles and so many levels of play. So our plan is to work on adding these to the other upper age play boxes and a few kinder boxes. And it's going to be great, and I'm really excited to present that hopefully next.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. So
let's bring it all home. So This is the number that we're asking for in this phase 1 approach. So if you remember, if you recall, the entire budget was $2 million. We're at a stage right now, phase 1, for asking for approval for $1.4 million. This includes the playground at Lou Sutton that Shana just presented to you. But this is sort of just a breakdown right now. You can see the surface replacements, almost 65% of the entire budget. Those surfaces are super expensive. There's a lot of work required. Parts replacement and, of course, the labor that goes with it. And then, of course, we have the new playground at Loma Verde, which is around about $44,000. So we also have a 10% contingency plan in that. So to bring it all home, I created this little yellow sheet. There are a lot of playgrounds, and there are a lot of moving parts and elements to this $1.4 million request. So if we look at that sheet, I've listed all the school sites on the far left with numbers. I know, and right next to that, that is the actual location. If you've been to the site, you can sort of just picture where it is. I mentioned earlier that we will do entire surface replacements, but I've also called out what NUSD maintenance will take care of. The actual surface cost associated with the full replacement. I've also called out age appropriateness. There are 6 playgrounds where we're going to make some changes to make sure that the little kiddos can play on the correct equipment. The parts, the labor, and then the new playground. And then the last column, inclusivity, accessibility, you'll see a number all the way down for Lou Sutton, playground number 3. That's the one that we just presented. The rest we've called out through the words sensory and imaginative. This is the work that Shane is going to go back to the Miracle Playgroup to design the ideas. But we're probably looking at about $45,000 per inclusive accessibility. So if you look at the total number, we've got 11 playgrounds. It's probably about 400,000. We should be below the $2 million original budget number. That's phase 2, yeah. So we got phase 1 built into this. Phase 2 is coming up.
Okay. Do we have any questions or comments from the board? And we have one public comment after. 1 and 2.
Sorry, just a really quick question on the difference between the presentation and the yellow sheet. Was this done first and this done second? And so the slight discrepancies in the numbers are...
Good catch, yeah. The yellow sheet came out today.
Okay.
And the previous one was last week. But the number that we're requesting, the total is 1.4.
Okay, and just one further clarification on the yellow sheet, sorry. The grand total here does not include the contingency that's listed in the...
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you for doing this for me. Sure. I'm the reason it was last minute. This helps a lot, and I have such a greater view of exactly what's happening. I think one of the questions I had, and I appreciate that you added in the sensory and imaginative pieces that are going to be for each of the school sites, so that's fabulous. What is the timing for a lot of this?
We're going to get cracking as soon as possible.
Okay. Or is this something we're going to do over the summer, or are there things?
That's the intention, yeah.
Okay, that's what
and
I
it'll
thought.
be a staged approach. We definitely cannot take on every single school site at the same time. So we'll address the parts in some of the schools that are less intricate, and the bigger projects we'll probably group together. So yeah, this is the work that Shane and I will do.
Okay,
and the
perfect.
inclusive elements we're going to try to group in at the same time so we could do the full installation at the same time. We're not going to have different installations with the different phases.
Okay, and I'm just having a flashback to us having an issue at Rancho with supply chain stuff. So
we're all good now.
Yeah.
Our lead times are really low.
Oh, good. Even for the replacement parts. So okay,
I hear it
all
all
right.
the time.
All right. Well, it'd be exciting.
4 to 6 week lead time right now, which is we've come a long way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for all the work, and thank you for the explanation and everything and clarity around that. So thank you.
Okay, Alicia, we have a public comment from you. Please join us in the center.
Hello, good evening. My name is Alicia Insho Ogie, and I am a mom of three, 6th grade, 3rd grade, and kindergarten. My oldest is disabled, and I just wanted to come this evening to show my support for making our playgrounds on our elementary school campuses more inclusive. I think if you are not the parent of a child with a disability, it's really hard to grasp just how inaccessible playgrounds are in general, because it's not your life. How would you know, right? And I didn't know until I had my daughter either. So if you have recently gone to, let's say, Pioneer Park, you might see the new changes there. That's an inclusive playground, and we need more of those. Just right now, I actually heard a few people saying, like, why do we need that? And I really, really encourage you to just think outside of your own experiences and recognize that not everybody can climb up stairs and slide down a slide. Not everyone can walk over wood chips. So this is really, really crucial, and I'm very grateful for JC for taking the time to meet with me and my colleague, because having play spaces that kids can access is so important. Play is so important for kids, right? They need that. So really don't just think of this, look at the price is a lot, but I think this is long overdue. And again, if you don't know what it's like to be the parent of a child with a disability, or you don't have a disability yourself, I would encourage you to look into this further and see just how impactful these playgrounds are. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia, and for your expertise and coming and speaking with our staff. We really appreciate it. Okay, any other comments or questions, or we're open for a motion? Trustee Gasson, is that a first? And Trustee Lametta, a second? Thank you. All in favor? We have 6 plus our 3 student trustees. Thank you. Thank you guys so much. Okay, our next item is 12B. This is the approval of resolution number 17, 2024-2025, approval of the tiebreaker criteria process for Novato Federation of Teachers.
I'm just going to close that out. Hi, good evening, trustees, Dr. Smith. So this item before you, resolution number 17-2024-25, it's referred to as tiebreaker criteria. This is the criteria that we utilize in human resources when we're looking at teachers who have the same start date or their same seniority date, if you will. And so there is basically a point system that has come up with to assign an overall point value to each of those teachers in the same cohort, if you will, with the same seniority date. And then just as like part of the process, even within that, you could have 2 or more of our certificated unit members who end up with the same overall point value. So when it comes to that type of a tie, then there is a subsequent like lottery process that we basically utilize to differentiate the seniority placement for people that have even a tie in their ranking or in their value. So, and it is it's a every year process.
Great. Questions, comments? This is a roll call vote. We do need a first and second. Trustee Butler, thank you. Trustee Alexander, the second. Trustee Alexander.
Aye.
Trustee Butler.
Aye.
Trustee Gasson.
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson. Aye. Trustee Lametta.
Aye.
Trustee Mack is absent. Trustee Pickus.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, we've got 12C. This is also from Francesca Whitcomb. This is the approval of resolution number 18, 2024-2025. This is the skipping criteria. Thank you.
All right. So this resolution number 18, 2024-2025, entitled Novato Unified School District's Skipping Criteria. This is a resolution that is typically brought forward annually when the district is contemplating proposed reductions or eliminations within the certificated bargaining unit. And it's a way to identify as a board and as a district if there are certain credential areas in particular that we we have an extra high level of struggle in hiring or replacing for those positions. So it speaks to our ability to, in the process of any reductions, where we always go to the seniority list to look at who are the least senior people in that area for the cut or the elimination. It allows for us as a district to skip someone who may hold one of these more specialized authorizations. And it may or may not come into play in any given year, but it's important as a board and as a district that we bring forward our prioritization, if you will, in terms of areas that we feel are high need and should be skipped in terms of any potential notices for layoff.
Questions, comments, or motion? Trustee Gasson with a first and Trustee Pickus with a second. Thank you. This is a roll call vote. Trustee Alexander?
Aye.
Butler?
Aye.
Gasson?
Aye.
Jacobson, aye. Lametta?
Aye.
Trustee Pickus?
Aye.
Thank you. Now we have item 12D. This is the approval of resolution number 19, 2024-2025, approving the preliminary layoff notice for certificated staff.
All right, we're tag teaming here. This is Joshua Braff, our CFO.
Few spelling errors, no. Okay. Good evening, trustees. Today we're going to talk about some budget reduction proposals that we want to first talk a second about why this is being brought in front of you. As you all know, as you approved a budget in the first interim, that this year we have a $14 million deficit. And that next year we have about a $6 to $7 million deficit. Within that, we had already projected in there that we would have budget reductions to hit even that number. Without budget reductions, we would have been at a much worse number. Why does that matter at all? As part of our fiduciary responsibility as a government organization, we have to carry a reserve, and that reserve has to be at least 3% of our operating expenses. If we don't make reductions, that deficit will spend down that reserve completely by the third year out. We also have to think of it on the long term. Whatever we reduce today, that means we won't have to double it next year or triple it the year after it to get the same exact value out of it. So making them early is the way that you cut the least in the long run. This also is a very, we'll call it a bureaucratic process. It's step by step. So what we wanted to make sure that we talked about is the timeline and what we're actually bringing in front of you today. So first, the NUSD staff makes a recommendation. That's what's put in front of you. And that has been brought to the March 4th board meeting for review. If the board approves the resolution for both classified and certificated reduction list, then by March 15th, there will be a preliminary notice that is given to staff members. That is not when a layoff happens. If a layoff is to happen, that does not happen until May 15th. That means between March 15th and May 15th, a lot of decisions can still be made. However, to be able to even have that discussion, or if we are able to, say, not secure funding for something or funding falls through, if it is not noticed on March 15th, it cannot be reduced later on. So the list may be longer than what it turns out to be. However, we are pretty confident that this is the list that it will be by May 15th. Ernie, you want to talk?
All right, so the list here is basically a breakdown, a summary, if you will, of the items and the positions listed on the resolution for certificated layoffs, giving you a breakdown of the estimated cost associated with those positions. Oh, that's fine. I think we're doing. Okay, that's fine. So in terms of the resolution itself, as Josh said, I also want to emphasize that this is a step in a process. right? It's a step in that timeline. And part of that process following this evening is always a negotiation and a meeting and conversation with our bargaining unit partners. So there will be conversations with our NFT leadership team about the impacts of any of these reductions that impact their bargaining unit members. And I also would like to set as a reminder or to clarify that, as Josh said, in terms of the positions listed, in terms of what actuality will be an impact to staff, the majority of impacts are going to be in terms of a reassignment. The majority of the impacts are not necessarily a full layoff. There are some positions, or due to course enrollment counts where they are currently, at the secondary in particular, there is not as much of a need for a position at one of our school sites, but there could be vacancies or a need at another school site. So we could have staff that are notified that due to these cuts, they're going to be preliminary noticed for reassignment for the coming school year. There are some positions on this list that will end in will indicate like a preliminary notice of layoff or a preliminary notice of a reduction in FTE. Again, part of the process is when our staff members receive this preliminary notice, they have certain rights within the process, and they are able to speak to their unit leadership and get more information. They can always speak with human resources as well. But again, this is a first step. Any final determination of ultimate reductions doesn't come before you until prior to May 15th. So it'll be at a May board meeting when we make those final decisions. And any final impact for any staff does not happen until at the end of this school year. So that's another important thing to keep in mind, is that anything that may happen is not effective until next school year.
Questions, comments, points of clarification? I think I'll make one. So like with the 8.6 full-time teachers, I'm assuming it's correct that that is not, we're not just throwing a dart at class sections. These are sections that are not full, and therefore if there's no students, then there's no teacher, and so we change that makeup.
Yes, that FTE number is represented of a combination of sections of various courses. And so it's a total representation of the things listed under particularly like the single subject positions, or some of the other teaching positions. That's a total representation.
Yeah, I appreciate the clarification around the process, and this is the first step in the process that we need to move through in order to make sure that we're making the right decisions moving forward financially. And I know, Josh, you kind of talked about this is the bureaucratic process. These are the legal steps we have to move through. And I also want to just acknowledge that, I am a teacher myself, and I've been on the receiving ends, and my colleagues have been reassigned and lost jobs. And so I think we all, as parents and community members, realize that the impact is very real in our schools. And so I just want to kind of acknowledge that. We've received a lot of emails from the community. Obviously, you are here, so many of you, because we're talking about jobs that are really important and people that are really important in our communities. And as this is a process that we have to go through in order to ensure that our district is in good shape, these are not decisions that are made lightly, and we do know that there are real impacts. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that. I think sometimes this happens and we move through these processes, but there's a lot of heart and emotion here. So just thank you to everyone who's emailed, for you all being here tonight. Our community is really important, and we want to do our best to serve our students and our staff. So just wanted to acknowledge that before we move forward here.
Well said. Thank you. Okay, if we don't have other questions or comments, I'll ask for a motion. Public comment is on our next item, which the rest of this PowerPoint will continue through.
All right.
Okay, we have a first from Trustee Butler, thank you. And a second by Trustee Alexander, thank you. This is a roll call vote. Trustee Alexander.
Aye.
Trustee Butler.
Aye.
Trustee Gasson.
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson, aye. Trustee Lametta.
Aye.
Trustee Mack is absent. Trustee Pickus.
Aye.
Okay. We will continue with the PowerPoint through the guise of item 12E. This is the approval of resolution number 2024-2025, approving the preliminary layoff noticed for classified staff list.
All right, so I may let Josh jump in here a little bit too, but again, this is a breakdown of basically the financial costs associated or savings, if you want to think about it that way too, associated with the positions that are included on the resolution. And again, as I said with the certificated resolution, this is a step in the process, and I will clarify that you will see on the resolution, actually, and I think you have a corrected copy of this one because we missed a date, that bottom paragraph, it should say June 30th, 2025, and so we did make that correction. It's just the date correction.
I'm not seeing that on the pink one, so. On the back side?
Oh, it's on the
No, I was thinking it was this last one here, it should be 2025.
Yeah.
That's
be
what I
that.
was referring to.
Yeah, I think
Trustee Butler, can you point out where your change is? I'm sorry.
The first page at the bottom here should say 2025.
Thank you.
Yes.
So when you sign the resolution and
Thank
all,
you.
yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. So on the resolution, there are some positions, there are 5 positions listed that are considered tied to specialized funding, and then there are 6 positions that are not. And although there is legally a different process, a different notification process for those 2 types of positions, we are moving forward with a March 15th notification for all staff because we feel like that's the right thing to do rather than having some people receive a notification, a preliminary notice later in the school year. It doesn't really make sense. And then again, this is a first step. We do have negotiations scheduled with CSEA for Thursday, and I know that this will be on our topic on our agenda for discussion. It is a very normal part of the process that when any district brings forward proposed reductions, again for classified, that the impacts of those eliminations are negotiated with CSEA, and we will typically come to a whole separate even agreement with CSEA on the impacts of these layoffs.
And I think I'll share that there have been conversations within different groups within the district of how can we explore funding opportunities in the interim between now and when we have to make a hard choice. And those conversations will continue. Questions or comments before public comment? Yes.
Yeah, just a clarification question. How were these conversations happening when these staff are notified of these potential layoffs? What does that process look like for these staff members?
So what the process looks like is the staff person's supervisor or administrator has those initial hard conversations to make their employee aware that this is happening. And we have those conversations with impacted staff prior to this meeting's agenda being published. So those conversations happened prior to last Friday afternoon. And then I will just share the typical process has been my understanding before I got here, but since I've been here in HR as well, we, when at all possible, any of these notices are served personally. There are personal conversations either with administrators or with myself and CSEA in the case of our classified bargaining unit members. I go to the individual employees with someone from CSEA, and we have those conversations together on what the impact is for that person and the next steps in the process.
And can I also share, that in some of these cases, you guys have figured out ways to work more efficiently and or bring some of these people into similar positions, but on a different pay avenue or et cetera. Can you speak to that, please?
Yes, thank you. Part of the process, particularly with classified, is that positions that are scheduled for elimination, the person associated with that position, they may have previous seniority in another position. And so they are not going to be noticed necessarily of layoff. They're going to be notified that they will have the right to displace to a previous classification. So in a lot of instances of the positions being eliminated, there will be something that the impacted staff member will have the ability to revert to.
I think I was more speaking to like the custodial setup. We've looked at how to infrastructure that in a more efficient way, and so X positions that were funded in this way are now being shifted to that. There's not an actual human loss in that.
Yeah, there's actually quite a few that are on this list where certain named positions are not eligible for grant funding. They want it to be called something else, they being the grantor. To be able to be eligible for that funding, we have to remove the position. The only way in our system that you can remove a position is through a layoff. And so that's where some of this gets to just be highly technical and doesn't actually have a person at the end of the day losing their job. That isn't true for every single one, though. That is the case for some of these.
Thank you. Trustee Gasson?
So I was going to wait till people spoke, but I think since we're kind of on this topic, one of the things I think that's helpful is, and I know it's hard, school finance and government finance nonprofit is complicated in terms of having buckets of money that are restricted for certain purposes. And so I think part of the conversation with sort of touching on in some way is that we had certain money like Prop 28 that was set aside for certain purposes. And so when we dig in and we actually get the information on what we can and can't use that for, and there's other things that we had. The athletic trainers had a grant that we had received that we lost, and then we recovered and tried to replace the salary through other means. And so I think there's a lot of pieces, and I should have started with this. One of the positions is actually really personal to me. It's somebody that I've known for a really long time, and I feel terrible because it's always a hard conversation. And I know that these people make an impact on so many kids in different ways in our community. And what came across to me that made me sad was that they thought it was because of the work performance that they did. And unfortunately, this has nothing to do with that. This is just how do we allocate the money and resources that we have for the purpose that they are intended. So with Prop 28, how do we use it for arts integration or whatever we're doing, and how do we structure that around different roles and things? It's not a reflection that somebody's doing a bad job, and so I think that that's something I personally wanted to say, that's not the reason that somebody is up on that list. So anyway, if you can just maybe speak a little bit to Prop 28 just briefly, or if we can get a
Well, I think really just what it is that there's also the case where sometimes you have things like rollover or carryover money, which is probably the hardest part for somebody outside of school finance or government finance to really like grasp that, wait, you have this much money, why next year do you only have half of that? Well, that's because last year I didn't spend any because the government didn't tell us how to spend it. And what happens with positions, and this was like with COVID dollars last year and year before that, is that you have this money, but it's all sort of one time. So where Prop 28 is a good example of that, money is ongoing, but how much we have this year is basically double what we get every single year, because the first year of allocation, it came at the very end of the year, so we didn't spend it. Well, then the next year we get to spend twice as much, But then in year 3, you get to spend half as much, and forevermore, half as much. And so allocating it to a position, then the sites have to figure out how they're going to reallocate it now at half the amount. And then that has, of course, consequences.
Okay, so question to the board. We have 20 minutes for public comment for each item. We usually get through 7 to 9 in that amount of time. I would like to suggest that we cut down the time for each public commentor so that we can hear all 17 cards I have in front of me. And if anyone who is speaking needs to go later in the order so that they can readjust their statements, we can do that. See the heads nodding. Okay, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna hear for a minute and we have 17. We're gonna hear for a minute and a half from each person. I'm gonna ask that I did say a minute and a half. You wanna make it 2? Okay, we're gonna do 2 minutes so that it's a little bit easier. So again, if you are called and you need a minute, just wave me down and I'll put your card at the end and you can readjust your comments. I really appreciate that you're all here. I know that it's been a long time to sit and wait, so thank you. But we want to hear from as many people as possible. And you don't have to use all of your 2 minutes. So I'm going to call 2 names at a time each time so that the next person is ready. And there is a strong inclination to clap for your fellow community members when they finish, but in an effort to try and hear from everyone, I would ask that you do hold any applause. Our first speaker will be Linda K, and then we will have Michael D. And if you need me to say your last names, I will, but I will mess them up. Yes.
Hi, I'm Linda Kissingbury, and I was delighted to serve as the San Marin drama and tech teacher for nearly 20 years until I retired in December of 2018 to be a grandmother. It was the joy of my life to teach drama and work creatively with my other arts teachers. However, I found that there was a part of the job that I didn't know about, and that was publicity, press releases, programs, posters, field trips to drama competitions, plays, theater tours in and out of the country, and writing grants, and the list went on. We were thrilled last year when we found out that they hired the wonderful and multi-talented Chris Starn as our visual and performing arts teacher, arts specialist. And they pay Chris out of Prop 28 money, and I'm not familiar with all the details, but trying to understand it, it's not NUSD money. Chris coordinates so many events for us in music, drama, art, and multimedia, and this includes over 600 of our students. That's half of the students at San Marin High School. And since I still volunteer up there every week, I see what she does. She's responsible for the publicity, press releases, complimentary placements, I'm going to talk really fast, Marin IJ ads, postcards, tickets, programs, flyers, posters, concessions, social media posts, parent meetings for these events, 3 classical concerts, 3 jazz concerts, 2 musical productions, 2 drama productions, a drama holiday show for kindergartens, 2 musical showcases, 3 rock band shows at Hot Monk, intergeneration nights, art showings, homecoming floats, weekly newsletters, etc. Field trips. She plans all the field trips for all the organizations. One quick thing, 1 second. Please realize that she's essential to us. Her money comes out of Prop 28. Thank you, Tracy, for your letter yesterday. I understand there's maybe a little wiggle room. I'm hoping that maybe they can take some money from Prop 28 from San Marin High School, and Chris can restructure her job and go to less hours and less days, and we can keep her in some capacity.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
We have Michael. It's too hard to resist. We have Michael and then Brendan.
Hi, my name is Mike Doby, and I am the athletic trainer at Novato High School and a resident of Novato. An athletic trainer is a certified and licensed healthcare professional who specializes in preventing, diagnosing, treating injuries related to sports. The minimum requirement to become an athletic trainer is a master's degree, as well as having to pass a national board exam. Once certified, we have to report 50 continuing education hours every 2 years to maintain our credential. These are higher entry-level requirements than teachers, nurses, and administrators at this district. The state law requires that only a doctor or athletic trainer can guide minors through concussion return to play protocols. These protocols require daily check-ins. Also, a state law requires that athletic trainers write heat illness monitoring and immediate response protocols. If there are missing components to those protocols, like an athletic trainer on campus every single day, okay, there is an argument that the district had a duty to act and failed in their protocol, okay? Our job is not part-time. It's important that we're there every day. Game days for football require 10 hours. That leaves 16 hours for the rest of the week. Treatment and field preparation starts at 1 p.m., practices end at 8 p.m. Then we have to break down the fields and allow an hour for documentation. A typical day for us is 8 hours. That means we can only provide a service to the school 2 days a week with those game days, okay? This leaves a large exposure to injuries for not being diagnosed, and statistics show that 50% of injuries actually happen at practice, okay? Because of this, our kids are going to be left without proper care. A lapse in care means the district knowingly allowed an environment that is dangerous for our athletes. Parents expect the school district to provide a safest environment for their kids. The current rate for an athletic trainer is $50 to $80 an hour. Your proposal offers $25 an hour. You won't be able to hire an entry-level athletic trainer. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker after you will be Bonnie.
So, hi, my name is Brendan Graber, and I've been the athletic trainer for San Marin for the past 9 years, since the August of 2016. I'm sure by now you've received many communications from the community addressing their concerns around the decision, with many great things to say about Mike and myself and how much they appreciate our work. And it's awesome to hear some of those great things that they've had to say, but we gathered today because we are here to ensure the health and safety of our student athletes, more so. After Sutter Health handed the athletic trainer position over to NUSD in 2020, they agreed on a contract to provide some financial support as they phased out of the picture. During this time, there were many uncertainties around our positions. One major concern of ours was reassured to us that would not happen, our positions getting cut back to us once the grant expired. The grant with Sutter recently expired, yet here we are today advocating for our positions to maintain student safety. This grant was intended to give the district time to figure out how to continue to fund our positions and not turn around and scale them back once the contract expired. NUSD had 3 years to find a solution, yet fell short in doing so. The district has been approached on multiple occasions by Marin Health to support the athletic trainer role, with those efforts falling on deaf ears. We are healthcare providers. Our positions could be placed on the same salary schedule as school nurses, which more aligns accurately with our duties. This could solve the athletics budget deficit that we currently impose on. Turning to boosters in the community to raise funds should not be the answer to keep us full-time, and it is a mission of failure by the district to maintain our positions and prioritize the safety of the student athletes. By the way, student athletes make up over 65% of the student population at San Marin, which we care for daily. Not only will reducing the athletic trainer position to 0.6 jeopardize the health and safety of our student athletes, but it will significantly impact the sports medicine CTE class that I've been working tirelessly for the past 2 years to build for the students of San Marin. Reducing the athletic trainer position would take away internship and work-life experience for aspiring healthcare professionals, and logistically it would be very difficult to both teach the CTE program and still perform the athletic trainer duties in a 0.6 capacity. Furthermore, between teaching the CTE class and putting in 0.6 of trainer work, I will still be putting in full-time hours at the school while not receiving full-time benefits. And how does that make sense? Thank you.
Thank you. After Bonnie, we have Oz.
Hey, hi, I'm Bonnie Eiler, and I am the CSCA First Vice President, and I work at Lucent Elementary School. I want to talk about the 5 Custodian 1 FTEs you plan on laying off. My understanding is that the elementary schools would end up with part-time night custodians, which means, I'm guessing, they would come in between 2 and 3 and work for 4 hours on one day, and then the next day come in between 6 and 7 and work for 4 hours. It's on those days when they come in late that concerns me. My question is, what happens when the day custodian has left at the regular hour and a student who doesn't leave until after 3 has thrown up in the class, the hallway, and the office, and there is no one there to clean it up? That vomit will then remain there for 3 to 4 hours until the night custodian comes in. How is that okay? This is just one scenario. I could talk about the urinal that is overflowing, the feces on the bathroom partition, the blood droplets from the class to the office due to the student with the bloody nose, but I think you get the idea. Also, we have already tried having part-time custodians, and obviously that didn't work. We need full-time night custodians every day. Thank you.
Thank you. After Oz is Dawn.
Good evening, board members, superintendent, and community members. I'm Oz Beckers, your web designer, and I've had the privilege of shaping how our district connects with families, students, and staff through our digital presence. In today's world, a school district's website is more than just a communication tool. It's a first impression, a resource hub, and a reflection of the district's priorities. Because of this position, I've been able to make our websites more inclusive, accessible, effective, and helping to attract and retain families and increase enrollment, also while supporting staff by ensuring clear communication and easy access to essential resources. Because of this, some key accomplishments also include rehauling and continuing to rehaul our pages so we are federally compliant and inclusive, creating WCAG compliant district letterhead, email footers, calendars, bell schedules, and this helps practice establishing best practices district-wide. I've co-led the website committee in selecting a new vendor to help replace our outdated system with a more user-friendly, collaborative, efficient website. Because of this position, I've been able to collaborate with many departments and committees to build out our CTE webpage, our district wellness hub, and our education workforce housing webpage. All these pages are new vital resources that are quickly climbing the ranks of our most visited pages, a great signal of community interest and a beacon for attracting families, students, and staff. I've built new functionalities from scratch to strengthen our digital presence, and I was able to find cost-cutting solutions by auditing district websites and identifying resources and services that are not being used. Through this position, I've empowered staff managers and additional office managers and staff who are the frontline communicators with families. I've trained them through managing their calendars, sharing resources through Parent Square, and streamlining communication. Many have told me how much they're easier our jobs now because of this guidance I provided and how critical it is to have someone in this position they can rely on when website or technology challenges arise. UNSC has an opportunity to demonstrate leadership in an innovation and inclusive setting and set an example for others in this region. A modern, accessible, and user-friendly website is critical for attracting and retaining families, students, and staff.
After Dawn will be Malika. No, Malachi, sorry.
Hi, I'm Don Nicodemus, president of Novato Unified CSEA Chapter 312 here in Novato. Dear honorable board members and superintendent, not only does this burden of this proposal job layoffs for June 30th, 2025 fall disproportionately and unfairly on classified staff and challenges all school employee rights, but undermines efforts to improve the quality of schools in Novato. The resolution on classified layoffs should be rejected or at least amended to not include those position cuts that will mostly impact school quality and enrollment growth. We need to grow student enrollment, not cut it, as will result from this proposal. Classified staff are among the most underpaid Novato staff and represent only about 20 to 25% of employees. They are some of the most essential employees that are needed for quality schools, but are being asked to bear a disproportionate burden of these reductions. With all due respect, you can't have quality schools without quality staff. However, the layoff proposal only cuts $473,000 in administrative costs by cutting 3 vacant positions, while $1.8 million are cut from classified salaries affecting many employees. Too many teachers and classified staff are being cut, and it makes no sense that 6 times as many classified positions are being cut compared to the administration. We've heard from the web designer. I have my own experience, 30 years in IT, including web work, and I know that this proposal to contract out the work or to give it to artificial intelligence will not only legally fail, but technically fail.
Next up will be Eric.
Hi there. Good evening. My name is Malachi Lindsay. I'm a junior at San Marin High School, and I'm a violinist, a part of the string orchestra group.
Will you hold up the mic or tilt it towards you a little bit? Thank you.
Better?
Yeah.
All right. And at my time at San Marin, Miss Starn has been just an empowering person there. She has brought so many things to us. Like the Ashland trip we had to Oregon, as not just a student, but as a person, it brought me so much closer to my fellow students. And at a time where I was really alone at the time, I was really able to get closer and find a place where I felt like I could belong. And that would never have happened without Miss Starn's help. And I'm just worried that the students who are coming in from Sinaloa are not going to have that same person to lead these on these trips, to have these different educational opportunities, to learn what they really want to do. And these art programs are so essential to San Marin. And even though 60% or more are part of the athletic program, there are still many students who are in the arts program. And as a violinist, and I've seen that there's not many people who are going to be in the strings program. It's because at Sinaloa, when she was the director there, she was, there was 2 things. There was the jazz band, and then there was the string orchestra. That was what really let me come into arts at San Marin. I would have never done it if it wasn't there, and it's not there right now. There is no current program for strings or jazz band, and because of this, the music department is falling apart. If we don't empower the young kids over at Sinaloa in our middle schools, we're not going to have any creative minds to grow up in our communities and in our colleges and in this country. Thank you.
Thank you. After Eric is Monica.
Hi folks, my name is Eric Nelson, and I've got a kid at San Marin who's a freshman, Rosie, and my son Jesse graduated from San Marin in 23. And I'm speaking on behalf of the performing arts position that Chris Starn holds. So my son Jesse, and a lot of his teachers are here, and a lot of you know him. He was a real shy kid, sort of a young first grade, felt really intimidated coming into San Marin, and didn't have a lot of friends, just really shy guy. But the music program really brought him out of his shell. He plays trumpet and the jazz band, and it really brought him out of his shell, and I think kind of changed his life. And now he's in college, and he's going to be double majoring, hopefully, with math and music, trying to add a music major. And he's now continuing to play music there, and it really, I think it changed his life for the better in a huge way. And Rosie, she's loving musical theater, loving the jazz band. Music is really important to these kids, and I think largely to Chris's efforts. It's been an amazing program at San Marin, and at Sinaloa too, and she was doing a lot there. And I really fear that with this program, with this position on the potential chopping block, it's going to hugely negatively impact music and performing arts at San Marin. And one great thing about, I'll try to talk fast, but a great thing about San Marin is the kids who are in STEM or didn't get into the MSA program, the artsy kids, they get to still have an amazing art program at San Marin and still do STEM. And you don't have to choose. I think if you go to San Marin, which is fantastic, but I worry that if we lose that position, it's not going to be that way anymore, and it'll be a much reduced program. Allison MacGyver, Emily Gates are totally amazing, great teachers, but they only have so much time. And Chris puts a ton of time into this. And to see a ton of music kids, parents here, I think that speaks for how much we value her. We need to keep her somehow. I know funding is tricky with Prop 28, but if we can be creative and somehow keep her on, that'd be incredible. Thanks.
Thank you. After Monica, we have Ben. Hi, Monica. Yeah, thank you.
Hola, muy buenas noches. Mi nombre es Mónica Velázquez López.
Good evening. My name is Monica Velázquez Lopez.
Orgullosamente soy custodio número 2.
I am proudly custodian 2.
He trabajado en el distrito durante 10 años
I worked for the district for 10
en la
years
escuela de Rancho
at Rancho.
y hoy estoy frente a ustedes
And I'm here in front of you tonight
para expresarles nuestro descontento
to express to you our unhappiness
como grupo de custodios
as a group of custodians
por el posible despido de algunos de nuestros compañeros, específicamente custodios 1.
for the potential layoff of some of our co-workers, specifically custodians 1.
Sé que ustedes quieren lo mejor para nuestra comunidad.
I know that you want what's best for our community.
Nosotros también lo queremos así.
We do too.
Por eso no creemos que el despido de estos custodios
It is why we believe that the layoffs of these custodians
no sea un buen impacto para el personal y para los estudiantes en nuestras escuelas.
would not be of good impact for the staff and for the students at our schools.
El grupo de custodios es uno de los minoritarios en los empleados clasificados
The custodian group is a minority in the classified staff.
y hoy estamos frente a la posibilidad de ser el grupo con mayor despidos.
And today we are facing the possibility of being the group that is facing the most layoffs.
5 en la lista.
5 on the list.
Y es frustrante para nosotros
And it is extremely frustrating to us
que estemos aquí esta noche apoyando a nuestros colegas,
to be here tonight in support of our colleagues
pero ellos están en este momento haciendo la limpieza de las escuelas
because they're not here tonight because they are cleaning our schools.
y no pueden defenderse a sí mismos.
And they can't be here to defend themselves.
Mientras nosotros apelamos porque los custodios 1 permanezcan en sus posiciones,
Well, we appeal to you so that custodian ones can remain in their positions.
ellos siguen siendo esenciales y una parte importante para la comunidad del distrito de Novato.
They continue to be essential and an important part of the Novato community.
Gracias.
Thank you.
After Ben will be Vivian.
Good evening. My name is Ben, and I'm a junior at San Marin High School. When I transferred to San Marin as a sophomore, I was initially only involved in wrestling and STEM, a world very different from the arts. Being new, I felt uncertain where I belonged. Miss Starn, the lifeblood of our visual arts program, recognized my situation and personally reached out to me, encouraging me to audition for the school play. Despite my initial reservations, she and the entire theater community welcomed me, transforming San Marin from just a school into a supportive community, a second home where I could explore new sides for myself. Additionally, Brendan, our school athletic trainer, has been a constant support for me, helping me recover from injuries and ensuring the well-being for all our athletes. He is a vital part for our community, and cutting his position would leave a gap in the care and support of our students. These two people alone have been instrumental in my personal growth, allowing me to merge my athletic discipline with creative expression. It gave me the confidence to start the San Marin Hiking Club and reach out to others who are looking to connect. Removing staff members like Ms. Starn and Brendan isn't merely a budgetary decision. It's a profound loss that strikes at the heart of what makes San Marin an exceptional school. Without them, students like me might never uncover hidden passions, recover from injury, or feel truly connected to our school's community. Cutting their positions is not just an adjustment. It's severing the very root that keeps this school thriving. It risks dismantling the support system that fosters our growth, leaving us in a community that is more like a prison than a school. Please don't let that happen.
After Vivian is Steve.
Good evening, Superintendent Smith and esteemed board members.
I am Vivian Jensen and the College and Career Specialist at San Marin High School. I have a packet for each of you that contains a calendar detailing my job duties as well as series of testimonials from former students who personally benefited due to their work with me in the College and Career Center. I began working with students as freshmen, helping to connect them with the reality that grades and choices count. As sophomores, we work on answering the questions, what is after high school for me? What are my choices? Then junior year comes and the search narrows. I meet with juniors and their parents, this year with some grandparents, to help plan their senior year and the process of finalizing plans. Whether it be transition for special education students, vocational opportunities, financial aid, scholarships, or college admissions. Throughout all 4 years, I provide guidance and support for students as they plan their next steps. When I was told my position was being eliminated, I was shocked. I believe my job is of value because I help all students navigate towards their path after high school. I help students from a wide range of socioeconomic backgrounds. If NUSD eliminates the college and career position, the gap between those who can afford $250 an hour for a private college counselor and those that cannot will widen. Our first generation students, will be at risk. I'm a first generation student myself, and I feel that I speak for them. According to a statement released by NUSD regarding these proposed cuts, these decisions are never easy, and the board takes them very seriously, making every effort to keep reductions away from direct services to students as much as possible. I work directly with students every day, all day. I have an open door policy, and students walk in all the time. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Steve Marisich. I have 3 kids who are in NUSD, twins who are freshmen at Novato High School, and then a younger boy who is a 6th grader at San Jose Middle School. I'm a physician, and I want to speak in support of our athletic trainers. I had the good fortune and the pleasure of working with Mike and assisting him on the JV football field at Novato, and I can say that he is a consummate professional. To have someone who is certified and licensed as a medical provider for our student athletes is extraordinarily important. And not only is it important to have them on the field, but I think it is at least equally important to have additional time where they can be in the practice room. One of my sons suffered a couple injuries this year, one in football, one in baseball. And every time he goes to the training room, there are a number of other student athletes who are there, who Mike and I'm sure Brendan also at San Marin is helping through their injuries. And there's a couple important aspects of that. One, a number of our students may not have easy access to other healthcare professionals to provide them with any kind of medical service. 2, they serve as independent evaluators who have the students' best interests at heart, and we can make sure that they will be looking at how much time they really need to recover from their injuries. And 3, they can see in a stepwise process, as both of our athletic trainers have pointed out, the road to recovery and make sure that there are no permanent injuries. So just in conclusion, again, I think we are very fortunate right now to have full-time athletic trainers. I think it's extremely important to keep those individuals, and I'm in full support of that. I hope the board is too. Thank you.
Michelle. I have Michelle next with Jan. Michelle Halsing.
Hi, I'm Michelle. I am the Sports Boosters President in Novato High.
And I'm Janine. I am the Sports Boosters President at San Marin.
So we're here to let you know that we're united. You know, we may be cross-rival schools and whatnot, but we're united in this, that we need our trainers. They are valuable to both schools, and by taking away your
literally hurting our children and our athletes at this school in more ways than just physical injuries. They're there to help them mentally. They're there to help them support them in the sport. And it's a safe place that they can go. Athletes don't always like going to their coach if they're injured. They much rather go to a trainer and kind of see how it's going first before, telling their coach that they're injured. I am a D1 athlete, former D1 athlete. I know how important it is to have an athletic trainer there. And you're taking away like one of the best things for our athletes at the school. And if you want to stop losing kids at the NUSD level and going to Marin Catholic, MA, Branson, we have to build up these positions and our athletics and have the support that those schools give their athletes. So we're here united. This can't fall on the parents of Novato. We already pay for so much in athletics for our kids to have the sports that NUSD does not cover. So we need the help, and we're willing to help try and brainstorm and find a way to keep our trainers, but we need time to get this done. We can't be told that, by March 15th they're getting pink slipped when we just found out about this. So we look to you as the board, let's work with this together. Let's keep our trainers in the school, and let's brainstorm with our ADs, with the trainers, with members within the community. We can reach out to Sutter again. We can try and help, but we just need the time to keep those positions for our athletes of Novato.
I just want to add that schools, coaches, parents, and students are already responsible for raising hundreds of thousands of dollars for athletics to pay for things like uniforms, equipment, and transportation. Asking San Marin and Novato high schools to raise an additional $110,000 for athletics trainers is simply unreasonable. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Marianne and then Disha.
Hello, trusted board and Superintendent Smith. My name is Marianne Gates, and I am the office manager at Hill Education Center, which is the umbrella for alternative ed, Marin Oaks High School, and Nova Independent Study, in addition to Novato Adult Education. And I'm here just to discuss very briefly the custodian layoffs. We have a night custodian, obviously, and I just want to bring to your attention or remind you that we have night programs. So a nighttime custodian is necessary. We have not only Novato Adult Education on our site until 9 p.m., we have youth programs, soccer, volleyball, and basketball programs using our MPR gymnasium until 8:30 throughout the school year. So our night custodian is necessary. Thank you.
After Disha is Kenju.
Hi everyone, my name is Disha Devakar and I'm a senior from San Marin High School, and I'm here on behalf of Ms. Jensen, our College and Career Specialist. I appreciate and acknowledge the time and consideration I know all of you put into each and every decision that you make. Today, by advocating for Ms. Jensen, I'm also advocating for equity, empowerment, engagement, inclusion, and education. If these sound familiar to you, it's because it's our own district's key pillars, and I believe that we will fail to uphold them if we don't make the critical decision to keep the position of my school's amazing College and Career Specialist. Ms. Jensen has the unique and irreplaceable role to help propel students for our future by dedicating her time towards supporting our college applications, assisting in financial aid, and providing all students with opportunities and advice they would not have found without her, and at no cost. Ms. Jensen upholds and empowers students by providing this key access to anybody and everybody. We would be stripping our students of their only and core source of free and personalized counseling, and would be reinforcing the issues with expensive and privatized college counseling services. With Ms. Jensen's kindness and dedication, I've done things like find my first job opportunity, scholarships I need to support my education, and even access internships. Only Ms. Jensen can accomplish this. We need Ms. Jensen. She's irreplaceable and vital. Lastly, I know that one of our main pillars are innovation, and I'm confident that we can find a creative solution that does not sacrifice the equitable and educational opportunities and risk the future and readiness of almost 1,000 students. Thank you for your time.
And next will be Katie.
Hello, thank you everyone for being here. My name is Teju Kancharla, and I'm speaking behalf Ms. Vivian Jensen in the strong concern for the elimination of her position. I'm a strong believer of the college and career specialist for the reason that I have worked with her for all 4 years of my high school experience, and strongly believe that without her being there, I would not be able to have access to the internships, the opportunities, and the financial aid guidance that I've gotten from her. And just to go over, in general, the college and career specialist plays a crucial role in guiding students through the process of preparing us for life. The entire goal of high school is to get to college, make sure that students are supported for their careers after, and without the specialist and her guidance, we would not be able to provide students with the equity and access that they need. As I covered before, I strongly urge the reconsideration of this position, because without her, there would be such a large gap between how many students are able to actually get access when they're not able to pay for the expensive guidance from private counselors, and this is an essential role needed for every student to be able to access. Thank you.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. My name is Katie Young, and I am not only a parent of 2 boys here in San Marin and Sinaloa, but I am the assistant varsity basketball girls coach. So I work with Brendan every single day. I am going to read what my son wrote to you that you all should have received, because I think it's very empowering. My name is Jackson Young, and I'm writing to you as a high school junior and a student athlete who has personally experienced the incredible impact that Brendan has had on my recovery and overall well-being. I want to take this opportunity to advocate for Brandon and the immeasurable value he brings to the athletic programs at San Marin. During my sophomore year, I suffered an MCL tear that left me unsure if I was unable to return to the field at all for the rest of the year. Without Brendan's expertise, support, and guidance, I do not believe I would have made the recovery I did in time to play and beat Marin Catholic in our final JV game to win the banner. His dedication to my recovery went beyond just physical therapy. He worked with me daily, not only to rebuild my strength, but also to keep me motivated and mentally focused throughout the entire process. His professional approach, knowledge of sports injuries, and unwavering belief in my ability to recover helped me push through one of the toughest times of my athletic career. It's not just his technical skills as a trainer, but his genuine care for the athletes he works with. His support extends beyond physical healing. He's a mentor, a counselor, and a key part of our athletic community. Not only is he a great trainer for us, but he's also a great teacher in the classroom. He teaches us about sports medicine and how to treat injuries, which can help us even more as athletes. Please consider the invaluable impact that Brendan has on me and countless other student athletes. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you to all of our speakers. Okay, so back to the item at hand. Comments, questions? Yes, Trustee Gasson.
First, I just want to say thank you to everyone who spoke and all of the messages. I do read every single one of them, as I'm sure all of us do up here. I think what I would like to just add was specific to someone's comments. Can we go back a couple of slides to the timeline? I think it's the second slide, that one. So we're here March 4th. We have to make a decision tonight on this element to meet the March 15th deadline. That doesn't mean that, to someone's statement about time, I know our staff is working really hard. We're listening to you. We're doing what we can. But at the end of the day, we have to make some cuts. And so it's not something that we want to do. It's the path that we're on the March 4th date right now. I know that there's conversations going on how we can, as Francesca said earlier, about having people transition into other roles. There's talk about having certain positions just funded differently. So there's things that we can take a look at to try to do. And I know that that's incredibly hard and frustrating. I feel like I've just gone back in time about 5 years, because when I started on the board, this is exactly what was going on. So I have an ask. You guys all clearly care about our schools and our kids. I know you do so much for them and helping every day in different ways. But what would really help is the advocacy at the state level. We represent really well for Marin County when we talk to McGuire and I always forget Conley. But we go and we advocate and we say we really need you to give us money that we can count on. Because part of the problem is we have the parcel tax that covers a lot of our staff in different positions. But at the end of the day, we only get a certain amount, and we have to figure out how we are going to be able to cover all the needs for our students. So, at this point in time, I just would like to ask you to think about that as we move forward, that we really are trying, and we could just really use that advocacy at the state level to help with better funding in general.
Well said. Okay, so we have to ask for a motion on this item. Trustee Gasson is correct that we do have to move on this, so. Trustee Pickus with a first, thank you. Trustee Lametta with a second, thank you. This is a roll call vote. Trustee Alexander?
Aye.
Trustee Butler?
Aye.
Trustee Gasson?
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson, aye. Trustee Lametta?
Aye.
Trustee Mack is absent. Trustee Pickus?
Aye.
Okay, we will, this information will continue to unfold and these conversations will continue to happen. We look forward to seeing all of you at our next meeting, which is on March 18th. Thank you.